Hello and welcome to another episode of the SMEFocus show brought to you by FactoryNOW TV. I'm your host, Chris Greenough, and in this show we will discuss and analyse the challenges facing SMEs in the UK manufacturing sector. I've been in the sector for over 26 years and I'm CCO at SDE Technology, one of the leading manufacturers of pressings and assemblies in the UK. So hopefully you can appreciate this show is very much for manufacturers, by manufacturers. My guest today is Sam Handley, Director at Swiftool Precision Engineering Ltd. Sam, hello and welcome.
Good morning.
Great to speak to you. So tell us about SPE and what you do.
Thank you. So Swiftool Precision Engineering are a family-owned company. We've been established since 1977 and we make safety critical parts and machine components for the nuclear, oil and gas, aerospace and most recently medical markets.
Fantastic. So a very wide range of markets, and I guess dealing with each of those markets takes a different sort of style, a different approach.
Absolutely, it's different regulations for each market. Yep. Each market has its own its own culture, yep. And obviously each market also requires its own different skill set. So it keeps us all busy.
And in terms of turnover, number of people at SPE?
So we are on for 17 million turnover this year. We employ 138 members of our work family. Yep. There's been significant growth in the company, particularly over the last 5 years. And
I very much like the term work family. You are a family-run business, family-owned business, and you very much take that ethos into everything you do.
We definitely try. Sometimes we don't get it correct all the time, but we definitely try.
And as a long-established company, award-winning company, I may add, how do you stay at the front of your sector? What makes SPE different?
Our agility in terms of responding to market challenges is ultimately what continues to drive our business. We invest heavily in technology, and we have a strong 5-year plan. And we have to ensure that we're continuing to invest in skills all the time, skills, technology, and also making sure we're embracing the digital platforms, the digital world, and obviously ensuring that we're playing our part as well in sustainability and all that goes with it.
Fantastic. And you mentioned your 5-year plan. Nobody in 2020 had a pandemic in their 5-year plan. How did you cope last year and how did you get through those times?
I think we were extremely fortunate. We managed to actually hit our 5-year plan a year early at the end of 2020. The company had a 39% increase in revenues during 2020. And obviously because as the majority of manufacturers defined as key workers, specifically in the sections that we deal with, it was all hands to the machines, literally. It was a very challenging year, but we were very fortunate. And our plan was, first of all, being key workers, everybody had to go home well, and there had to be a sustainable business at the end of it.
Absolutely fantastic. And you've currently got vacancies. What would you say to someone who wants to work in manufacturing? What career choices are there and why would they come into manufacturing?
There's a lot of opportunities in manufacturing. And if you're good at what you do, you will thoroughly enjoy every day. It's particularly well suited to individuals that enjoy a different challenge every single day, and not knowing what you're walking into one day, the next is a real feeling of achievement when you manage to conquer those goals every day. It is a great place to be. It's a fast-moving, fast-paced environment, and it's an environment as well where you have to use the latest cutting-edge technologies. The days of dirty shop floors and unskilled workers, I mean, that's 10, 15, 20 years ago now. It is a very, very exciting sector to work in.
It is, and that perception of the as you said, the shop floors being slightly dirty and grubby, that perception still exists in some education, in some schools. They don't see the cutting edge technologies. They don't see the work that you and other great companies are doing. So how can we change that perception? What more do we need to do as businesses to change that perception?
I think ultimately, in terms of an engagement strategy with educational authorities, I mean, we have our own apprenticeship centre here.
Yeah.
We're actually main provider status through RoadTap and the Department of Education. So we've recently, I'm delighted to share, passed our Ofsted inspection, our first Ofsted inspection. And our engagement strategy with the local schools is extremely strong in order to help not just ourselves, but also that play our part in a connected supply chain around changing that perception. And it does take work and it does take effort, but ultimately we all have a part to play in it, because we have to make sure that we continue to grow the economy, not just for ourselves but locally as well, and for the sector.
Absolutely.
And there's different ways of working now as well in terms of digitalization. We're looking at the moment in terms of training and AI, and do you have to be standing on a duck board and able to understand how to learn to use a machine? We're invested in an awful lot of R&D at the minute with people like the MTC looking at ways forward around a lot of, an exciting array of technologies. So you have to make an effort. You will get manufacturers will get out of this what they put in. But we have to take our responsibilities seriously around that, I would say.
Absolutely. And you as SDE have done, we've invested in our own training centre for apprenticeships here. Why did you feel you had to invest in your own centre? Why didn't you go to the local college and just put your apprentices in there?
The answer's changed actually 3 years ago, as I said, because ultimately it wasn't hitting the needs of what we required.
Yes.
We work very closely with the local college now in terms of ensuring that we play our part in helping them understand what they need to offer to employers.
Yes.
And also they've helped us in terms of helping us understand what we need to offer as an official educational establishment or centre or new provider. But it is about absolutely working in partnership, as opposed to just saying, well, I'm not getting what I need from the college, I'll do it myself.
Yeah.
Ultimately, I think sometimes as employers we can just bite off a little bit more than we can chew sometimes. And the whole thing around the apprentices isn't just having an apprentice. The whole piece around pastoral care and safeguarding, etc. There's a lot I think we can still learn from the local colleges, and absolutely the best way to do it is absolutely in partnership. But traditional models that span over 3 or 4 years are no longer appropriate in today's environment and skill shortage. So we had to find a way in making sure that we can cut down the time in terms of work-based learning and making people match ready for the future. So that's what we do.
Absolutely. And even now the skills gap is getting bigger and the skills environment is changing. So you've got the Kickstarter scheme. There's going to be lots of readiness for work schemes as people either unfortunately are made redundant after furlough, or as companies, markets are changing. So your apprentices and the apprentices you take on, what do those learners bring to your company? Why is it so important to have apprentices coming into the company?
Ultimately, to ensure that we sustain our talent pipeline.
Yeah. The
wider picture, though, however, Chris, is to ensure that we're playing our part in the wider supply chain. We're in an area, we're in Nottinghamshire, in Huthwaite, and it does have some of the lowest scores in terms of social mobility in the country. So it's twofold. It's making sure that we're filling our own talent pipeline, but also we're doing our bit in terms of, ensuring that skill stays in the area, being able to offer decent quality, appropriate, timely training services to the supply chain as well, the manufacturing and engineering supply chain. So it's, we very much approach it in terms of the macro and the micro benefit.
Absolutely. And if you can be upskilling your existing workforce, upskilling the general population in that region, then what you're doing is keeping more spending power in the region and ultimately allowing business to grow, which is absolutely fantastic. I applaud what you're doing. So your plans for the rest of 2021, more growth, more investment, more job creation?
Absolutely. So we're at a very exciting time at the moment. Unfortunately, I can't divulge the next part of the plan as we speak today, but we have got some very exciting news that I think we'll be able to announce potentially towards the end of the summer. But yeah, we are, as we see, taking on more apprentices, continuing to grow the business, investing in some more technologies, continuing with our research and development projects that we're currently running, and ultimately doing what we do best, which is to continue to ensure that, we contribute to the defence, energy markets and the travel markets of the world.
Fantastic. And you touched briefly on green technologies, carbon neutral. So that's going to be a real push for business. So how are SPE getting involved in that, and how are you pushing the boundaries now to go greener?
Okay. As we all know at the moment, in terms of procurement in particular, the whole piece around sustainable procurement, I think it's fair to say that every manufacturer, every company needs to ensure that they are being responsible in terms of, are we going for the right accreditations? Are we making concerted efforts in terms of our ISOs, our 14001s? Are we understanding in terms of our renewable and non-renewable energies? Are we measuring our carbon every month? Is it being documented, in our management meetings and our board meetings? And how seriously are we taking it? Because I think the mistake companies are making, if I'm being completely honest, and we've made these mistakes, is okay, let's put some electric car chargers in, let's make sure we've got kind of all the recycling in place, etc. But it stems far beyond that, and we want to make sure that when we talk to our buyers and the people making the decisions, that we can demonstrate early on that we take sustainability extremely seriously here. And I think there's an education piece and a responsibility piece for employers to ensure that weaves through the whole company, and it's not just something everybody's doing to tick a box.
Fantastic. Absolutely. Great to speak to you, Sam. Great to hear your investment plans, the work you're doing on apprenticeships. It's absolutely marvellous. I'd love to have you back later on in the year so you could tell me about your exciting news. Shame you can't tell me today, but I understand you can't. So I'll catch up with you later in the year if that's okay.
That's great. And thanks very much for the opportunity.
Fantastic. Thank you, Sam, and great to speak to you.
And you.
That brings us to the end of another show. Thank you for watching, and I look forward to meeting more of our brilliant SME manufacturers like Sam, SPE Engineering, and those supporting the sector next week. If you would like to get in touch with the show with a comment, a suggestion, or even to appear on a future episode, please email us tv@mtd.media. So from me, Chris G @SDE, goodbye.